Welcome to another English class. I would like to start off by appreciating you for always watching our topics and making use of Examguide. So today we want to look at an interesting topic in English, basically under grammar, and I would like that we take it seriously and it will help us go a long way. All right, so I want to look at adverbs. Yes, adverbs, very important. All right, so our learning objective by the end of the lesson, students should be able to define adverbs, mention the types of adverbs, give sentence examples of adverbs. All right, so I would start off by saying that adverbs are classified under the parts of speech we have in English language. The parts of speech are actually ingredients. I will refer to them as ingredients we use as speakers and writers. Now, it is not possible for anyone to speak or to write without any of the parts of speech. Now, all of them are important. All of them are very important, and that is why we have to look at each of them. But today we'll basically focus on adverbs. Now, primarily, people say adverbs are words used to modify verbs. That's the definition they give to it. But today we'll be looking at a much more holistic definition of an adverb. Outside just modifying verbs, are there other things or other parts of speech that adverbs modify? All right, so now we'll say that adverbs are words that modify verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. That's the perfect definition of an adverb. They are words that modify verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. Need I remind us that adverbs are word modifiers. I've really emphasized on that in other teachings of ours where we come across topics or words suggestive of that adverbs and adjectives are the two word modifiers we have in English language. And by modification we mean adding extra meaning, all right, or information to a sentence. When you add extra information to a sentence, you have modified that sentence. I remember giving a series of examples, or I think that was when we took adjectives, when I told us that a sentence can be made ordinarily without having an adjective and it is perfect. But when you add an adjective to a sentence, you give an extra meaning either by modifying a noun or a pronoun. And that is how it is with adverbs. When you add an adverb in a sentence that doesn't have an adverb, you modify that sentence by giving it an extra information outside the information you have already. All right, so adverbs basically are formed by adding the ly suffix. We've taken the topic suffixes, and we said that suffixes are word elements added to a root word at the end of a root word to change or alter the meaning and a word class. And by word class, we still refer to parts of speech. All right, so in forming adverbs are formed basically. Some prepositions, no doubt, can function as adverbs. But when we talk about adverbs holistically, we form adverbs by adding the ly suffix to an adjective. So if I have the word beautiful, it is very easy to form an adverb from beautiful. And what I have to do is to add my ly suffix to the beautiful, and I will have beautifully. All right, so that is it. Adverbs are formed by adding the ly suffix to an adjective. Some prepositions function as adverbs. All right, there is something very important that I would like to clear. It's already projected here that not all ly words are adverbs. It's very, very important for us to know that not all ly words are adverbs. Remember, I told us when you want to form your adverbs from adjectives, you add the ly. So if you remove the ly word, the ly suffix from a particular word, and that word doesn't give you an adjective, it means that that very ly word, it's not an adverb. I will take it again. That when you remove the ly suffix from a word, you have seen a given word, and you wonder if that word is an adverb or not by virtue of the formation of an adverb. That is the adding of the ly suffix to an adjective. Now, if you remove that ly suffix from that very word, if the base or the root word you have, having removed the ly suffix, isn't an adjective, then that word that has ly in it isn't an adverb. So look at these examples, or rather these words: lovely, friendly, unlikely, and elderly. Not just this, there could be some others that you can lay your hands on, but basically these four that I have here are words that end with ly. All right, but are they adverbs? The answer is no, they are not adverbs. Now let's look at the word lovely. Okay, remember we said that adverbs are words that modify verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. So if I use lovely in a sentence, would it add extra meaning? Would it modify a verb? Would it modify an adjective? Or would it modify an adverb? So I say the girl is lovely. One thing I've come to know about adjectives is that adjectives describe nouns or pronouns. Adjectives basically describe nouns and pronouns. And you always have your linking verb in between the noun word or the pronoun that describes, yes, that the adjective describes. So there's always your linking verb, and that's it. So she is lovely. The word lovely is an adjective and not an adverb. Lovely describes the pronoun she, and it's not modifying a verb, neither is it modifying an adjective or another adverb. So you see that lovely is an adjective. Now let's go with the rule I gave to you. Let us remove the ly suffix from the word love. If we remove the ly suffix from the word lovely, what we will have is love. And the last time I checked, love is either a verb or a noun. You can use love as a verb or as a noun. As a noun, it's the name of a person, all right? Then when you use it as a verb, that's an action. I love you. You're showing an action. So you see that it is not an adjective, and as such, the ly added to love isn't functioning as an adverb. Rather, it's an adjective. So is it with friendly, unlikely, and elderly. They are both adjectives describing a word. All right, this is a perfect example. You see what we have here. You see someone who isn't feeling happy. We see someone who is scared. We see someone who is comfortable. We see an accidental act. We see someone who is fond of something, and we see a smart person. All right, so let's see how we can form our adjectives from this one. Obviously, sad is an adjective. She is sad. She is scary. She is comfortable. It is accidental. She is fond of me. She is smart. So you've seen I've been able to put away the ly suffixes and create an adjective from each of these words. So the ly suffix, the ly suffix added to each of these words is suggestive of the fact that the words originally, the root words, are adjectives, and the ly made it become an adverb. All right, so that's what I want you to understand. Now look at the second one where you have scarily. That scarily simply points to one fact, that when you have an adjective word that ends with y, you want to form your adverb from that very word that ends with y. It is expected that you change that y to I before adding your ly. I hope that is gotten. That when you have an adjective word, or yes, a word that is an adjective and it ends in y, all right, you want to form an adverb from it. What do? You remove the y, turn it to I before adding your ly. It will be out of place for you to leave the y. That's the rule. The reason for saying that we must learn how to do it rightly so that we will get it rightly. So these words are adverbs. Sadly, she walked home sadly. How did she walk home? Sadly. So these are adverbs that can be used to modify verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. Now, one would be asking, how do I use adverbs to modify verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs? Here we have a perfect example, or rather examples, sentence examples of adverb modifying verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. Now, one thing I want us to know is that the underlined group of words are the headings given: adverbs modifying verbs, adverbs modifying adjectives, and adverbs modifying adverbs. Adverb modifying adverbs. Now, when adverbs modify adverbs, we call them intensifier. All right, so that should be registered in our memory, so that once you hear of the word intensifier, you look at it from the angle in grammar, you look at it from the angle of adverbs modifying adverbs. Now let's look at this example of adverbs modifying verbs. The sentences says he smiles sheepishly. Smile is the adjective. Smile is the verb. Sheepishly is the adverb. How does he smile? That's adverb of what? Manner. How does he smile? He smiles sheepishly. Then the second example says she walks graciously. Smiles is the linking verb. Walks is also a linking verb. Remember, I told us one thing, that adverbs add extra meaning to sentences. Now, this sentence, he smiles, is complete. Remember, we can say that a group of words, or you can refer to a certain group of words to become a sentence when it has a subject and a verb. Right? Object is necessary, but as long as it has a finite verb, you have made a sentence. So he smiles is a sentence. Now, what are you saying? You are saying that this person is habitual of him to smile. All right, so I want to add extra meaning to the sentence he smiles, and I says he smiles sheepishly. I've given extra information. And what's that extra information? I'm letting people know that this boy doesn't just smile, but he smiles sheepishly. So that's what adverbs do, adding extra information to an already given information. So that is it. So adverbs or adverb modifying adjective, you have her performance is outstandingly great. Now listen attentively. I could actually say her performance is great. I have described the performance of the girl as being great, but I want to add extra meaning to her performance is great. I want to tell us how great her performance is, and I've been able to achieve that by adding the word outstandingly, which is an adverb. So this adverb outstandingly modifies great. It gives extra information to the great, how great the performance was. Now the second one says the movie is very interesting. Again, I could say the movie is interesting. That's an adjective describing the movie as interesting. How interesting is this movie? Very interesting. So you see that, like I stated earlier, you can't basically say that all ly words are adverbs, and at the same time you can't say that there are no other forms of adverbs apart from the ly adverbs. So you can see from the second example under adverb modifying adjectives that very is an adverb. So you won't really place your mind basically on just the ly adverbs. There are other forms of adverbs apart from the ly, which we will see as time goes on. All right, so the third one says adverb modifying adverbs. Adverbs modifying adverbs. All right, so we said that when adverbs modify adverbs, we call them what? Intensifier. Adverbs modifying adverbs are called intensifier. So we have the examples. Pardon my not underlining the second example under adverbs modifying adverbs. So the work was done marvelously well. How well was the work done? It was done marvelously well. That's adverb modifying adverb. The degree to which the work was done. All right, the degree, how well, marvelously well. That's the degree of the work done. Then finally we have he was driving too fast. How fast? Too fast. Okay, remember, fast as a word can function as an adjective and also as an adverb, but in this case it's functioning as an adverb. It's to describing how fast, that's speedily. What I'm saying is that he was driving speedily. Fast here means speedily. But when it's an adjective, obviously it will be describing. So in this context, it's not describing anything. So you must understand your parts of speech, know their meanings and their functions. That way, even when you have a word that gives you the inkling that it's not what you used to know it to be, don't argue that it cannot be some other thing, because a word can have two word class. Yes, can function in two word classes. So fast here can function as an adjective. It can as well function as an adverb, and I've cleared it. Fast can be described, she is fast. That is an adjective. Fast being used as an adjective to describe the girl. So if I say she is fast, I'm only saying she is swift. All right, that means in her movement she is fast, she is swift. I've described her. So I can also say she walks very fast. So in that case is what? An adverb, just the way we have it here. He was driving too fast. That means he was driving excessively speedily. That's just what it is. So too fast, fast here means speedily. It is not an adjective, it is rather an adverb. So you have seen it now that adverbs, by my definition, I've been able to clear the definition that it is wrong for you to basically say that adverbs modify verbs when giving a definition of an adverb. So adverbs are words that modify verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. By my sentence examples, we've been able to clear that notion. Yes, it is not out of place to say that adverbs modify verbs, but I think it's narrow-minded. All right? Okay, so please, when you're giving a holistic definition of an adverb, have it in mind that adverbs modify verbs, adjectives, and other adverbs. All right, so we have types of adverbs. We have a number of them, about 5, 6, or 7 of them, and one after the other, we'll go through them. We'll identify the adverbs in the sentences, all right, and how they are used. We have examples. So types of adverbs, we have adverbs of time, we have of place, we have of manner, we have of frequency, we have of concession, we have of degree, all right. So we'll look at them one after the other and the questions that they ask. Now the first one is adverb of time, which asks the question when. Right, so that's the question you have there. Adverbs of time asks the question when. Now an adverb of time states when something happens or how often it happens. An adverb of time often starts with one of the following subordinating conjunctions. Good thing we'll be taking one of this topic, conjunctions, so that we'll know basically what subordinating conjunctions are and how they are used in sentences. So you want to know more about subordinating conjunctions and how they are used. All right, then you have to look at the topic treated on subordinating conjunctions, and that is basically under conjunctions. So you use any of the following conjunctions when you want to identify your adverb of time. You use after, as long as soon as, before, no sooner than, since, until, when, or while. So what we are saying basically is that whenever I use any of these words in a sentence, it depicts adverb of time. Now here are some examples. Example 1 says, after the game has finished, the king and pawn go into the same box. When do the king and the pawn go into the same box? When? Remember we said that adverb of time or adverbs of time asks the question when. So the when that you ask, then the response you get is what tells you that it's adverb of what? Time. So when do the king and the pawn go into the box? After the game has finished. So that's adverb of time. It answers the question when. I stopped believing in Santa Claus. When did you stop believing in Santa Claus? That's the time. when my mother took me to see him in a department store and he asked for my autograph. So that's it. Then the last example says, as soon as you trust yourself, you will know how to live. When will you know how to live? The moment you trust yourself. As soon as you trust yourself. So you must understand this because it will help you in using the right words. When you're writing your essay, it will help you use the right adverbs of time. You want to talk about things and you're referring to time, then these words are necessary. All right, so let's look at the next type of adverb. That's adverbs of place. It asks the question where. Where are you going? That means it has to do with place. Where are you coming from? It has to do with place. Where have you been? It has to do with place. So an adverb of place states where something happens. An adverb of place often starts with a preposition in, on, near, or one of the following subordinating conjunctions. So you can see it that adverbs of place must not necessarily start with where, everywhere, wherever, anywhere. It can start with prepositions. Where are you? I am under the table. Under the table. On, under, in, they are all your prepositions. So you can actually start off a sentence, or rather your adverb of place with a preposition. Yes, your adverb of place can start with a preposition. So it's not basically any of these words, and that was why I stated it, that an adverb of place often starts with a preposition. So here are some examples. Anywhere the struggle is great, the level of ingenuity and inventiveness is high. All right, so that's it. Anywhere, that's a place. I am not afraid of the pen, the scaffold, or the sword. I will tell the truth wherever I please. Anywhere you find me, I would say the truth. I'm not afraid of the pen. I'm not afraid of the scaffold or the sword. Wherever I find myself, I will say the truth. So the wherever talks about place. All right, so now we have adverbs of manner. Adverbs of manner ask the question how. How was the work done? Sometimes adverbs of manner come with the ly, the ly adverbs, but not always. There are still some. You can see I didn't make use of any of the ly words here. I had to use others so that you could know that there are other words that introduce adverb of manner other than the ly. So an adverb of manner states how something is done. An adverb of manner often starts with one of the following subordinating conjunctions: as, like, or the way, and the ly word. All right, so here are some examples. He acts. How does he act? Like it is a joke. He acts like it is a joke. So the word like here functions as adverb of manner. We don't have conversations. You talk at me the way a teacher talks to a naughty student. You talk at me how? The way a teacher talks to a naughty student. Then the next example says, except for an occasional heart attack, I feel as young as I ever did. How do you feel? As young as I ever did. So that's adverb of manner. It tells us how, the manner, the way at which something is done. All right, so we have adverbs of degree or comparison. Adverbs of degree or comparison. It says, to what degree has that thing been done? To a certain degree. All right, so sometimes you're writing an essay and you're asked to what extent. That's the degree. To what degree? You give a response to a large extent, to a certain extent, not to a great extent, depending on how you perceive it. So that's when you're talking about adverb of degree, we are talking about adverb of comparison. And obviously when you're comparing two things, remember we said it when we looked at adjectives, where we say that we'll have comparative adjectives and superlative adjectives. And we basically stated that comparative adjectives are those adjectives that compare two things using more, all right, to differentiate the two. So we look at it. It says an adverb of degree states to what degree something is done or offers a comparison. It states to what degree, or it offers a comparison. An adverb of degree often starts with one of the following subordinating conjunctions: than, as, with the word as, so as, or the and the. All right. So here are some examples. A vacuum is a hell of a lot better than some of the stuff that nature replaces it with. All right. So a vacuum is a hell a lot better than some of the stuff that nature replaces it with. So it's comparing the vacuum you have and what nature replaces it with, and it's saying that the vacuum is a lot better than, to what degree? It's way better than what we have or what nature replaces it with. So he is as smart as he is tall. The comparison, as much as he's smart, that's the way he is also tall. He said he is as smart as he is tall. The last one says she is not so bright as she thinks she is. That's degree and the comparison. You're comparing how bright she thinks she is and what you perceive of the person. So when you are making use of your adverb of degree, you must be sure to choose them appropriately. Now, sometimes the verb in an adverb of degree is understood. That is not present. Yes, sometimes is understood. We say that it is not present. That is how it is. All right. So these are some examples. You said you are tall, taller than I. You are taller than I. You are taller than I. In this example, the verb am has been omitted. This is permissible. That is what, when you say that something is permissible, that is what you choose to do. It's not a must that you have to put it. So you are taller than I. It's still adverb of comparison. Remember, we say sometimes the verb in an adverb of degree, that's comparison, is understood when it is not present. It is understood. Why? Because we know what ought to be there, but we choose to use it that way, and it will still pass the same information. But you know, the problem it causes is that some people may not use the right pronoun choice when you are comparing, because if you are asked you are taller than, you would say me or her. We basically use the object pronoun when comparing things, but it is wrong to use the object pronoun. You're supposed to use the subject pronoun when you're comparing yourself with some other person. So you are taller than I am is the full version, but removing am is not wrong at all. Now we are stating now that it is not formally acceptable. Yes, it's not formally acceptable to say you are taller than me. That is our spoken English. But when you are writing, remember, once you are found in an exam condition, you are in a state of formal examination. So you ought not to use an informal way of writing or speaking. So it should now be you are taller than I am, or you are taller than I, not you are taller than me. All right, I guess. All right, the next one is adverbs of reason. Adverbs of reason asks the question why. Why did something happen? So in writing, it's necessary that when you want to explain possibly a particular thing and you want to give your reason for whatever, you could make use of your adverbs of reason. The essence of this is not just for exam purposes. Even when we are talking, we are conversing with people, make use of these adverbs. They help to enrich your speech and as well your writing. So this adverb of reason, we have because, we have as, we have since, we have given. So these are examples. I don't have a bank account, and the question is why. You say that when a question is asked, why don't you have this? Your response is usually because. Now I want to state something. While growing up, I was made to understand, actually, that you don't start a sentence with because. And as time went on, I realized why it was said that way and why that statement was actually wrong, because it wasn't cleared very well. Now, it's not that it is bad to start a sentence with because. As a matter of fact, because starts your subordinating clause. Now, it can only be wrong when you start a sentence with because and you don't finish the sentence. You could actually start a sentence with because and not finish it. Since because introduces the subordinate clause, all right, if you start with the subordinate clause, you have to end with the main clause for it to be a complete sentence. So if you do not finish a sentence with the main clause having started with because, which introduces the subordinate clause, it could be said that it is wrong. Remember, subordinate clauses cannot stand on their own. All right, so I came to understand that a sentence is complete when the main clause and the subordinate clause are there. A sentence is complete when you have the main clause, but if it's only the subordinate clause, then it's not complete. Now, someone asked a question: why were you late to school? That's giving adverb of reason. Why were you late to school? You just say because I was sick. It is incorrect. So you have to finish the sentence by saying because I was sick, I was late to school. Or I was late to school because I was sick. That's a perfect way of responding to a question asked. So you see reason why people think it is wrong to start a sentence with because. It is not bad to start a sentence with because, but make sure you end that very sentence with the main clause. Because you have started with the subordinate clause, you have to end with the main clause to make it a complete sentence. I believe that is gotten. All right. Second example says, since you are like no other being ever created since the beginning of time, you are incomparable. Why is this person incomparable? The person is incomparable because or since there is no other ever created who is like him or her. So that's that adverbs of reason answer the question why. All right, let's look at the next. It says adverbs of condition. Adverbs of condition. Adverbs of condition tells you the reason. You see, adverbs of condition. Why? What the reason for something? If you do this, I will do this other one. So there is always a condition. There must be something that has to be done for something to be done. If you are able to do this, then I will do this. So adverb of condition states a condition for the main idea to come into effect. If something has to be brought to limelight, if something has to be done, then this is what you have to do. It's a conditional statement. So you want to give a condition, you're writing, you want to show condition for something, then make use of your adverbs of condition. An adverb of condition often starts with if or unless. These are basically the two. All right, if or unless. Unless you bless me, I will not let you go. That's a condition you've given. For letting someone go, the person has to bless you. Okay, so let's look at these examples. It says, if the facts don't fit the theory, change the facts. If the facts don't fit the theory, change the facts. So that is it. What is the reason? What's the basis now? What's the basis for changing the fact? That's if the facts don't fit the theory. So for us to bring something into effect, something has to be done. So if wishes were horses, beggars would ride. Next says, if all the rich people in the world divided up their money among themselves, there wouldn't be enough to go around. So that's the conditional statement. Then we have adverbs of concession. In spite of, with all that has happened, I still did this. That's adverb of concession. Not considering what has happened, you still went ahead to do what you feel was right. Concession. So an adverb of concession offers a statement which contrasts, which negates, which the opposite with the main idea. I was slapped. Even though I was slapped, I still apologized. Even though I was the one hurt, I said I was sorry. That's contrasting. The normal thing is, you were hurt, I should hurt in return, I shouldn't apologize. But in contrast, you did what was not expected as to the person who was hurt. All right, so an adverb of concession often starts with one of the following subordinating conjunctions: though, although, even though, while, whereas, or even if. So we have some examples. Here are some examples. Although the man was unjustly and ill-treated, he didn't fail to remedy the situation when the need called for. Although the man was unjustly ill-treated. Sorry, that "and" shouldn't be there. Although the man was unjustly ill-treated, he didn't fail to remedy the situation when the need called for. You said he was unjustly ill-treated. When the need called for, he didn't fail to remedy the situation. That contrast. You can imagine someone who is unjustly ill-treated. The last thing you would want to do would be to be of help to anybody. But we are contrasting. So that's what adverbs of concession is all about. So once you're using your although, know it that you're contrasting the statement. So if you're not contrasting statement, then although shouldn't come to play. All right, the next one says a loud voice cannot compete with a clear voice, even if it's a whisper. That's the truth. It's concession. A loud voice cannot compete with a clear voice, even if it's a whisper. All right, so we have adverb of frequency. Adverb of frequency, I think this is where we'll cut it. Adverb of frequency. How often does something happen? Now, an adverb of frequency is used to express time and how often something occurs. Is used to express time and how often something is different from adverb of time. Okay, adverb of time tells you when, but here we look at how often something, as much as it has to do with time, but the frequency. Is it every day? Is it every now and then? All right, there is specification now, unlike adverb of time, basically. All right, so it can be split into two. It can be split into two, namely indefinite frequency, which has an unclear meaning. Obviously, when you say that something is indefinite, that means there is no specification. All right, it's just like your definite and indefinite article. Your indefinite article a and an, it comes in. There is no specification, but the definite article there has specifications. So indefinite frequency has an unclear meaning as to how long and how often something occurs. So these are examples: usually, always, normally. There is no specification as to how it happens. So it says the adverb is usually placed before the main verb. The adverb is usually placed before the main verb. Example 2 says, I normally visit my father. You are not, is indefinite, normally. How? There is no specification. That's why we call it indefinite. You are not pointing exactly the time. All right, but it will show us how often, and it's indefinite. So I will always love you. I'm not sure. I can't say it is now that says I will always love you. So that's indefinite frequency. Then finally we have our adverb of definite frequency. Adverb of definite frequency, which will usually be placed at the end of the sentence. And these are examples of adverb of frequency. It says he gets attended to hourly. Hourly. So you are certain that at every 1 hour interval, this person will be attended to. Then we get paid monthly. There is specification. That's what we call it definite. You are specifying. Hourly, I am attended to. This on monthly basis, I am being paid. There is specification. Unlike indefinite, which has no specification, which tells us often, always, seldom. So that's indefinite. And finally we have I buy the newspaper daily. That means every day I step out, I buy the newspaper. All right, let's look at some searched questions from our exam guide app. We have one already here before us. It says the student's high jump champion has been. These are options. You see that we have adverbs used in objective questions. Outside writing with them, you also see questions seeking for your right choice of a use of adverb. So it says the school's high jump champion has been dash. Off is obviously a preposition, so we are looking at has been very much off. All right, very, most of, no. So very much, very is an adverb, much is an adjective. So there's no way adjective can describe an adverb. So we are using very much of, from, most of the time. So that's your answer. Very is an adverb of degree, all right? So describing the much, which is an adjective. So let's look at another example. Okay, that is it. It says very is an adverb while much is an adjective in the sentence. If their positions are reversed, that is the much coming before very, it will be incorrect. All right, it will be incorrect. So certain things play that way. Reason for saying that English is arbitrary. But in this case, adverbs modify adjectives. Adverbs modify adjectives, and as such, it will come before the adjective it modifies. Again, adverbs cannot be close to nouns. So the adjective has to be close to the noun or the pronoun that it is describing. All right, so this is it. Let's look at another example. Let's look for something else. All right, this is another one. It says, last week's assignment was dash for me. Last week's assignment was much too difficult for me. Was too much difficult for me. Was difficult too much for me. Was much too difficult for me. Yes, because this is what your adverb that has to modify the verb. So much too difficult is the correct answer. The rule is too much is followed by a noun. Too much is followed by a noun. All right, so it's much too difficult. Why too is followed by an adjective or adverb. Example, too difficult. You can modify difficult with much or too. So that is it. You can modify difficult with much or too. So it was much too difficult. It can't be too much difficult. It was much too difficult for me. All right, let's take another one. Yes, this is, she wondered if the water was not dash hot for drinking. She wondered if the water was not very hot for drinking. No, very is more or less a positive word. So he wondered if the water was not too hot. The water can be too hot for when something is too hot. When you use too for an adjective to describe an adjective, it is on the negative part. That's why you can't say that somebody is too beautiful. Is it that the person is too beautiful that it's not okay? Beautiful is already a positive word. So you're very beautiful. So the water, she wondered if the water was not too hot. So it's too hot. That means it's not what should be taken. When something is too, is on the negative. So it's not what is comfortable. So the answer is too. Let's check. Okay, D. You say too is an adverb of degree to indicate a higher degree than it is what? Desirable, permissible, or excessive. Exactly. So it's excessive. It's not what should be taken. That is what too. So when you're using to, know that you're saying is excessive. Is on the excessive side. We've taken this. Let's check this. Okay, this is another one. It says the schools. Okay, we've taken this one too. All right, let's look for another. I think that's all. All right, so I would advise that you go through the app. There would be other questions on adverb. Try to attempt the questions and see how far you have learned. All right, let's see if we could take this one, or we've taken it too. Okay, we've not taken this one. It says life in the city is dash expensive, is very much expensive for people. Very much too expensive. Remember, if you say very much, that means very is a positive word, so you obviously can't use it. It's too much expensive. No, it's much too expensive. It's much too expensive because too is the adverb that describes the word, the adjective expensive. Much is the modifier. So much too is the most suitable option. The adverb much modifies too, which in turn modifies the adjective expensive. All right, that will be all for now. Thank you.